I'm so excited to welcome back to Direction Not Perfection, Dr. Cathy Goldstein. And yes, it's our second time. And one of the things that I loved about Cathy's work when we were discussing last time is that she really bridges beauty, brain health, and emotional expression. In our first episode, she really shared just this powerful message of true radiance. And it isn't about erasing lines, it's about restoring energy, restoring expression, self connection. And honestly, one of my most favorite takeaways was that we can age with power and not pressure. And there's like this behind that. So this time, though, Cathy, we're going to take this fascinating topic of lymphatic system. What is it exactly? Does it have anything to do with weight loss and why we should all care about it? So pumped for this deep dive together. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I was super excited to be able to really talk about this topic because it's so much about integration into not only your daily health, but also those stubborn anything like stubborn fat, stubborn immune system issues, stubborn chronic pain. I mean, it really reflects every aspect of what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So let's go.
I know I'm feeding off of your energy already because I already want to go off grid, but I'm going to stay the course here for a
Okay.
moment. And I think that there are some individuals who have some really great understanding of this lymphatic system and drainage and whatnot because maybe they've experienced it or they've witnessed a parent or somebody really deal with it. And then I also think that there's this whole other side of the population that's like, I literally have no idea what you're
Mhm.
about to be talking about. So can
Okay.
we take this kind of 101 starter course with you of what is our lymphatic system?
It's a great question because what we thought it to be and what it actually is are very different than when I was in school 45 years ago in college. Very different. So hopefully everybody will get a little piece of something from this. We originally thought the lymphatic system was designed to get rid of toxins in the body, right? So it's kind of like making sure that we are keeping lymphatic flush to get rid of the water weight. So the water weight in the feet and the legs, maybe post-cancer treatments where you're making sure that the lymphatic system is moving through the arm and into the armpit because there's edema in the hand. So that's what it's really well known for. However, the fascia's job is so much deeper. So, for example, let's first talk about the different layers of the lymphatic system, and then let's talk about what I've seen in research with that. So, one is that we think of the lymphatic system as superficial, but that's only one layer of the lymphatic system. If you think about what the lymphatic system is, how it's built, if you will, is that it goes along with the vascular system, the blood vessels. So it has to follow the blood vessels to every single cell. So now when you're talking about following the blood vessels, it goes in every layer of the body down to the organs. We have a lymphatic system around those deeper organs. And when you bring in the fascia, which is interconnected throughout the body, the lymphatic system can live like throughout that fascia. So we're all over the body. So now what we know as what its job is much more palatable because we go, wow, it's interconnected through everything. So its job beyond making sure that we don't have fluids, waste, particles outside of the cell that fill that extracellular space, not inside the cell, but outside the cell. That's its primary job because if we have more than a fraction of extracellular fluids from the vascular system outside of the cell, we are very limited on what is life-threatening and what is not. So that's one job. The other is that the lymphatic system delivers nutrients. And most people don't realize that. So we know the lymphatic system has something to do with our immune system. And that's about cleaning up the trash, if you will, on all of the breakdown of an infection, bacteria, viral, anything that's the toxins. So that's why those nodes can get tender in our neck and our groin area, is because that's the collection of all of the lymphatics on that level. So now let's talk about how it actually delivers nutrients, because that's how it cleans up, right? Cleans up toxins, cleans up extra fluids, cleans up waste from infection. Now let's talk about how it delivers nutrients. So it delivers nutrients because it actually has the ability to take collagen and deliver it to the cells. Like when you look at the fascia is a collagen producing machine, and the fascia is what produces it, and the lymphatic system is what delivers it. I actually read an article that the lymphatic system was shown to reach across a placenta to deliver probiotics. So it delivers probiotics to the cells as well, to the nutrients. I also read a research article that says that the lymphatic system has the capability of producing estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, right? So now when you're going into that perimenopause, if your lymphatic system is healthy, you actually have the capability of not just the liver producing it when the reproductive glands decrease, we have alternatives. The liver increases its production, the lymphatic system increases its production, but they both have to be healthy and they both
Yeah.
have to be clear because if they're going to deliver it, they can't be stuck and stagnated and all congested. So there's so many really kind of deep dives into that, but that really kind of is a foundation of what that looks like.
Right. And this is fascinating to me because, again, you started with this, but it really was known. And I think this is how an individual knows it who's probably listening is anytime swelling has happened for somebody, when you say the edema piece, whether that's a foot, a hand, a leg, or whatnot, like that is really what is addressed is when we have ever heard lymphatic system and needing to get help getting that swelling under control. Nothing else that you went into has ever been spoken over me before.
Right.
And I think that is this piece of preventative versus once something has happened, now we're going to look at that system and now you're helping guide us in this. Hang on. There's this whole preventative way we could be looking at this system.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, actually, let me bring that to fat storage because toxins are a huge job of the lymphatic system. But when we have a lot of toxins in our body that aren't moving, what the body does is it actually will store it in fat cells. So when we have stubborn fat areas and things like that, and the reason why it stores it in those fat cells is because toxins are really hard to manage physically, and our brain cannot handle a lot of toxins. So it stores it to protect us from that over toxic load. So what happens is how do you get rid of that? Well, the only way to get rid of stored toxins in fat is actually by moving it. And the lymphatic system is what moves it, right? So if we're dieting, if we're exercising, we're still going to have hormone fat pockets, toxic fat pockets, and things like that. But it is why people sometimes don't feel good when they start losing weight is because they're dumping toxins and it's not being managed. Huge factor.
Interesting. Yes, so interesting. Okay, so if let's like kind of take this pathway of if we have this basic understanding that the lymphatic system is literally, it deals with everything in our body to some extent. And then we take it another step forward and say, again, this is all like such baseline information, but like it really is moving toxins, it's moving waste around and out of our body. So then the next question to you would be, how? Like, I know that there's manual things and there's
Okay.
machines. Like, can you go through different options that somebody would
Yeah,
have?
absolutely. So um, I'll give you some of the things that are done and what it does. So
Perfect. Yeah.
lymphatic massage is superficial. A lot of times people realize that lymphatic massage is very, very gentle. It's about moving that superficial lymphatic system and being able to move it into those portals and be able to dump it into an area that the body can manage it, whether it's towards the heart so that the circulation can handle that in blood detox to urine, sweat, breath actually is a way to detox as well. The other is that if you're talking about a pumping type machine, like people will put on body pumping
Yeah. Like
machines, right?
compression type,
Yes,
compression leggings, compression. Oh, yeah. Okay.
exactly. So what that's doing is if you think about the vascular system, the way the vascular system works is that the blood vessel to return, because that's the hard part, it's against gravity, to return has valves, right? So the valves are with the blood is pushed with the heartbeat, valve opens, valve closes. So it keeps the blood between those valves to keep it from pooling, right? The lymphatic system doesn't really as far as we know, doesn't really have that type of a system where it has valves. So it relies on muscle contraction and contraction, elevation to be able to move the lymphatic system. So the pumping is like muscle pumping, and it's physically with the vascular system and the lymphatic system moving it back to the heart. So we're talking about muscle contraction. So we're talking about maybe the superficial layer and a little bit more of the deeper layer that's around the muscle. But there's
Yes.
also the deeper layer, which is harder to reach because what has to happen is the lymphatic system has to be healthy on its own. So everything that we've talked about are assists, right? They're not re-education, they're not repair, they're assists. It doesn't give your body the ability to learn how to do it on its own because of a weak or toxic or congested or injured lymphatic system. So the key part really is how do you repair the lymphatic system to enable it to really flush on those deeper levels, like around the organs and things like that, as well as through the muscles to the superficial layer, so that we can get all of the nutrients that we were talking about to the cells. So flush the toxins, flush the storage of cortisol type hormones, and be able to actually deliver nutrients. Your lymphatic system needs repair. So what does that? There's not a lot I know that really does that. That's a goal for me. You know, I do energy devices. I've
Yes.
used energy devices in my office. It's how, when I do a treatment, I put people in an integration room that is all about energy and frequencies, because how our body works is in biophoton or light energy. Bio is life or light, and photon is light. And our body communication, our body function is all about life, light. So in my integration room, I use a lot of different frequencies that communicate to the different levels and the different parts of the nervous system, to the acupuncture meridians, to start performing on its own. So we do the treatment, it's part of the education process, but to really land it, we need to have reinforcements. It's the reinforcements because we have a lot of stress in our world and our environment. So it's those energy frequencies that reinforce the treatment so that your body can learn how to vibrate at that frequency that actually changes how it's performing, learning how to function on its own.
So, and maybe this is too soon to be asking about this, but so if
Right.
somebody is not going to a clinic at the moment, I just wanted to point out this was so generous of you that you gave me the stone to do some of this movement. And I want to talk about this guy and even
Okay.
what you're talking about because I feel like when somebody doesn't have full understanding, it feels a little woo-woo. It feels like surely that can't be happening.
Right.
And maybe somebody sitting in your sessions with like the photo lighter, like the energy levels could be going, is this doing anything? So talk through how you'd be talking to your client or your patient on if they were doing an in-home use, as well as again, like even within your office walls, like why there's such a
Yes.
belief system.
Yes. Okay. So what we can't see sometimes is hard to believe. And
Mhm.
a lot of times I'll just say, give it 10 days, right? You tell me, right? Because
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
proof is in the pudding, right? So I'm all about that as well. That was what we had talked about on our last call is that just look at the results and you tell me how you're feeling and how that's going. But on a scientific level, there are definitely, I mean, frequencies are how our nervous system actually works. So the more in tune, the more balanced, the more vibrational frequency you can have at a healthy frequency, the better you're going to feel. As much as that is really kind of a complicated concept because we can't see it. We're talking about subtle energy fields. On a fundamental level, it's like, yes, of course, that makes sense because you can tell when someone has low energy. You can tell
Mhm.
when they're not feeling well. You actually see it on their face. It's the idea of like, look at someone who's sick and you can see it on their face. You can see it in their eyes. You can see it in the energy of their body. That's their vibrational frequency. When someone's healthy and vibrant, you can not only see it, you can feel it. You can feel their energy, and it's contagious because everybody's drawn to that high energy vibrational frequency. So let's put it in tuning fork or
Mhm.
piano. So if you're going to tune a piano and it's off key, which is a lot of times what happens to our body, just living in our world, right? It gets a little off key, and then we develop signs and symptoms of things like, when did that happen? How is that? Why is that? Why do I have autoimmune?
Yeah.
So you take the piano, and when you tune it, you're actually taking a tuning fork to understand what that vibration that puts out that perfect sound is. So if you have two tuning forks and you ring one of them and you bring the other tuning fork of the same frequency to it, it will start vibrating at that frequency before it's even touched it or it's been hit. So innately, our body wants to vibrate at a healthy frequency. Absolutely. I think it's the innate intelligence of the body. It wants to be healthy. So that tuning fork is very much the same. I'm bringing a tuning fork to your body to help it learn how to vibrate at that frequency so you can be healthy and repair a system. So you're talking about repairing a system. So it gives your body the opportunity.
Okay, so I feel like that's the repair, that's like the deep level. And then something like an at-home tool, because we're seeing a lot of these stones now. I feel like they're really
Oh, yeah.
gaining some
Mhm.
popularity and probably in a great way. This
Right.
is more like you're saying of it's an assistance tool. It's assisting, it's probably maybe more of a maintenance type tool. And can you go into
Okay.
what
Yes.
that's doing?
A couple of aspects to what you're talking about, because when we talk about the difference between maintenance and what is this actually doing, the first part of that is that when we look at the signs and symptoms of a lymphatic system being congested, because that's really kind of part of that is, how do I know? How do I know I even need help in this area? Well,
Yes.
right. So one is that if you're breathing and you're in our environment, we all need help. But on a symptom level, it's going to be everything from brain fog in the morning. You get out of bed and you step on the floor and the bottom of your feet hurt. I have seen that a lot in my clinic. That's toxic buildup. If you have pockets of fat that feel like they're stubborn, that's congested lymphatic system. I mean, the list is long. Difficulty sleeping. I mean, really almost any symptom, chronic fatigue, difficulty sleeping, pain for sure. And then all of the different things that cause autoimmune and inflammation. So if we have inflammation, that's huge, because inflammation is the root of a lot of our issues and our chronic illness. So that's, do I have anything that shows up that it looks like a need for the lymphatic system?
Thank you for saying that because it was actually one of my big questions is do you have to have known symptoms, blah, blah? No,
Right.
like you're saying anybody who's breathing could
Yeah.
benefit from lymphatic drainage.
Right, right. And because if you look in our world today and you look what all the things that we're exposed to, I'm a walk my talk kind of person. And if you're eating organic, if you're exercising, if you're meditating, if you're living the lifestyle of low stress, that you're doing a great job. Absolutely. But stress is our biggest toxin. No one goes unscathed in the world of stress, especially with the fast-paced worlds that we live in. I mean, maybe there is someone who's living like off the grid, but they're not watching. So,
Yes, our community understands stress.
right, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yes.
Yes. So that is our biggest toxin, is stress. And then you look at, if you walk outside, the things we don't have control over, even if you're good about your internal environment, everything detoxes as it moves. Our cells naturally detox as part of keeping those cells healthy, as they got to dump the toxins out of the cells. So on a natural metabolic level, our body is detoxing a lot. So you're 100% right. Prevention is going to be huge in really having ultimate balance, feeling good, having health, not getting brain fog. And we can talk about the lymphatic system as well, because we've mostly talked about the lymphatic system, but our brain health is dependent on the brain's lymphatic, which is the lymphatic system of the brain, is dependent on being able to detox.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So I feel like just to make sure listeners stay with us here for a minute, if you're listening from home, if you're not ready to go exit your house to try any of this, let's give some tangible takeaways of here's something you should consider starting doing that's going to
Okay.
give you some benefit.
Okay. So if you're not using like the lymphatic stone, and I designed it so you could use it at home.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Actually, this fits all this, right? Because this is not hard for somebody to grab it from
No,
you. It's easy to get your hands on this,
a
right? Like
hundred
this is
percent.
not, yes.
Right, 100%. So one is that, like, as just a daily routine, and let me cover this part first because you mentioned, and I did not answer it yet, on there's a lot of stuff out there like gua sha. A lot of times people go, oh, is that a gua sha stone? I said, you could use it for gua sha, but it is not gua sha. What we're doing is not gua sha. And the reason why is because gua sha is designed to move stagnant blood in Chinese medicine. I'm an acupuncturist by trade. So if you were literally using this for gua sha, you would get what's called shine, which is stagnant blood coming to the surface of the skin that looks a lot like bruising. That technique is specifically designed to use in specific areas that resolve stagnant blood. And the way I designed this is it's smooth on all edges, and it has a little hand grip that makes it comfortable so that you can use it on large parts of the body. It's very comfortable. Plus, you can use it on smaller parts of the body. And the roundness of it, the smoothness of it is what's a little bit different about a gua sha tool. So that I wanted to cover because the frequencies are actually designed, the frequencies that I've imprinted into this are designed to repair the lymphatic system. They have thousands of different frequencies that break down all of the body's ability to actually repair. So that is the design. And then how it works with the fascia and how you use the tool is key. I agree with you. The reason why I made this tool was because I feel like people need to consider having a tool that not only helps them to detox, but also helps them to repair a system. So it's easy to use. I have actually three different stones that I keep in three different areas. I have one in my sauna, because what better place is to detox than in your sauna?
Yes.
And then I have one in my bathroom for after I shower, because I like to use the body lotion because it has a lot of the repair and it creates a slip. And then I have one next to my bed because every night before I go to bed, I do my lymphatic, my brain, because our brain detoxes while we sleep. Those are the three areas that I keep it in. But ultimately, it is a great tool to be able to do in literally 5 minutes a day, where you can utilize that tool to really not only repair, but you'll see the changes in your body. I mean, as far as like what people say when they use the tool is one, they say, I feel more energetic. I feel like my body is stronger. I feel like my brain is clear. And I feel like my calves are reshaping. I feel like my butt's lifting. I feel like my belly's melting. It's because we're actually using that stone to resculpt while we're dumping those toxins as well. So you get the amazing benefits of that way.
Yeah. Well, and this is why I was like, I'm so glad you gave me this before we talked, because so I was watching your videos and how you like swoop down, and while you're doing this and you're alone and you don't have you in our ears, there could be this moment where you're going, I don't know if this is doing anything because it is so gentle. So I think that's like the piece where it's helpful to have this background knowledge. Like it doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to be a deep hard massage to get this benefit of you really are just moving toxins fluid. So I think it's interesting because everything was towards your body. So you were saying like you're trying to move it towards your heart or towards your kidneys for detoxification. And that's why everything's up towards more of our core.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact,
Okay.
if you have swelling in your hand, you're not going to get it to go down if you go away from your hands. It's got to, your body's got to figure out how to dump it. So it's got to go towards the heart. I'm definitely a support person as far as like your tools and how to use them. When I do the stone class, a lot of times people ask me, well, what about arthritis? What about my knees? What about, and I give them actually some pro tips in being able to manage those different areas, because that's also something I've heard people say is that areas where I had arthritis are better, my knee is better, or doesn't have pain, things like that. But you actually mentioned something that I also want to talk about, because when you're using the stone, there's things that you'll notice on your body, and you can do this without the stone, that you can actually feel areas that are bumpy, feel areas that are like congested underneath the skin. So because I had Crohn's disease, that's how I initially got into holistic medicine. I was in the hospital for 3 months and I had tons of IVs. When I first started, every little muscle on my forearms where I had all these IVs were like da, 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 da. So any contusion, that's going to damage the lymphatic and the fascia. Any area where you've had injury, any area where you've had lack of motion, is going to create injury to lymphatic and the fascia. So when you're talking about gentle, I'm also saying if you've got an area that's congested, definitely go deeper with that because you can get that fascia to untwist so that the lymphatic system can actually flow freely and the collagen around that fascia can actually develop that repair collagen from the fascia. Let me just re-say that so it's clear. So
Okay.
if you have areas that are congested, it's areas where the fascia and the lymphatic system are potentially damaged. When you use the stone and you open up those and you give the frequencies of repair, that means the fascia, it can untwist and now it's free to produce its nutrients, which collagen producing machine, collagen is what repairs everything. And then the lymphatic system is free to carry it to where it needs to be, which cells need collagen for repair. So it's going to repair that area as well.
Okay, so tell me if I'm wrong in thinking this direction. So if movement in general, like if a patient, a client is because of injury or something unable to move as much, then this can be helpful just to get things flowing that natural movement would have maybe been doing but isn't happening. Is that
That
right?
is that is accurate. Plus the post-trauma uh,
Hmm.
injury, because we have a trauma injury, which we deal with, let's just say it's a joint, knee. So we have the trauma injury, that is the pain, the swelling, the inflammation, all the things that have to happen during repair. That is absolutely a time that if you're doing lymphatics
Yes.
around that injury, it will heal much faster. I've seen that in my practice multiple times. So I'm going to say in my practice, I have clearly seen injuries heal significantly faster if they are being nurtured through the repair of the lymphatic stone that they can do at home. They don't have to come into my office every day and do therapy. They don't have to come into my office every day and do acupuncture. They can actually do it at home. And it's
Right.
imprinted with all of the acupuncture meridians as well. So,
So interesting. So
and
if
then,
somebody had access to like leg compressions as well, and so that you could be doing stonework at
oh,
home, you
yeah,
could be doing compressions if you have accessibility to that.
yeah,
Like you feel like all of that, if somebody is dealing with knees, feet, hip issues, anything like that, this again
yeah.
remains super beneficial.
Actually, let's pair it with something that does compression because, most people feel better with their compression. For example, I had a patient in my practice who was wearing a compression sleeve all the time from post-surgical the lymph nodes removed.
Yes.
And I did acupuncture with her, as well as I had her do some homework and repair, right, of the lymphatic system with literally 15 days, she was no longer needing to use a sleeve. And when I follow up, because I'm a research person, when I followed up with her 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, because I'm a geek, she still no longer was having swelling and no longer needing to wear compression. And the reason why is because I believe that the lymphatic system can repair like anything else. You can cut nodes, but we have the ability to compensate in some ways. So I feel like when we're working with energy medicine like acupuncture and really addressing the underlying damage through frequency medicine, that you are giving the body an opportunity to repair. So that was one aspect. And then the other is that if someone's using compression, it's a great combination too. Like maybe you want to use the stone and then the compression. I would do it the other way around because compression is confining, if you will. I mean, anybody who's done compression understands that it's very confining. So it's putting pressure on a lot of other cells in addition to lymphatic system. So if you do compression and then after compression, take 5 minutes to do the rest of your body, that area and the rest of your body, you're going to see more residual benefits from that.
Okay, this is so interesting. So, for anybody listening and going, I have this problem, or like I have a friend who lives in a compression sleeve now because she's
Yeah.
post breast cancer. Do you do consults virtually? Is this something where
Yeah.
people can reach out with these questions for more
Yeah.
insight?
So I do webinars every month because I'm a total support person. And what I find is that our community is amazing community and that
Mhm.
the questions that everybody asks have been beneficial for other people. So that's usually usually where I would recommend that people
Mhm.
really engage because it's a community. You know how that works. It works better if there is more people asking different questions that maybe you didn't think of at the time.
Right, exactly. Because then you're like, yeah, me too. And oh,
Right,
interesting. That worked for you. Yes.
right,
Do
right.
you have a webinar coming up, or is this something that we can put some links to just have people
Oh,
notified when they do come up?
yeah, you know, what I can do is link to a webinar that like a pre-recorded webinar that can give them more information as well as kind of put them into the community so they can see when I'm doing webinars. There is one other thing that I just wanted to say because I've made a lot of claims in this conversation. One is everybody responds differently. Two is consult your healthcare practitioner before starting anything new. My conversations are absolutely based on my personal experience with either customers or patients.
Yes, and thank you for saying that. And I think that this is always just a good reminder. I had another client and I were just talking about this yesterday. It's always to be the advocate for yourself. There is not a one size fits all. But I think the beautiful part about having these conversations and getting introduced to different professionals and the things that we do geek out over, the things that we can
Mhm.
get into, is they can be incredible, valuable tools that can be our next game changer. They can be our next puzzle piece that we never considered, and it clicks in, and all of a sudden something's really flowing for us. But not to be taken as a magic bullet, right? Like it's just a tool, and it's definitely something I think anything that we start, we need to have our medical team on our side. At least knowing what's going on. And I know I'm not talking to you, I'm really talking to the community. You have got to keep your medical team informed so that your personal experience, your meds, your supplements, whatever you're taking are all very known. So now both you and I have disclaimers in there of like,
Done.
take care of yourselves, people. You're the only one who will.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Like you said, advocate for yourself. It's important.
Yes. Yeah. So I think I just kind of want to close out and because I think your webinar would be the next natural step for everybody to go. Anybody whose ears perked up today and you're like, I want to learn more. If you're just a listener and you didn't get to see Cathy and I pull out our fun tools, it's worth watching the YouTube for a second just to get a visual of what that looks like. But also the webinar, I'm sure, has some links. Like I found your link that you gave me of how to use them and what that
Mm,
looks like. I really appreciated your YouTubes of that. That was super helpful because this is new to a lot of us and we don't really, you can hear it and go, I don't know what that looks like. So Cathy does a wonderful job of providing those tools. And then again, I just want to hone in on this whole piece of you do not have to be damaged, diseased state to utilize this to benefit from it. That I think what's cool about our communities and again like this integrative holistic healthcare is preventative. What can we be doing now that sets us up for success later? And
right.
Cathy, thank you. Like I feel like you're putting a tool in our hands today that is some prevention.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I think you make a very, very good point about prevention because we all have cancerous cells in our body. It's just a matter of whether they're activated or not. We all have viruses in our body. It's just a matter of whether we are in control of those or not. And I think that prevention can be easy. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yes, you gave a great example with this though too. Visuals, like the places you put your tool to use it, make you come to it. And it was funny because I had mine out on my counter and I was doing it every day. And then
Uh,
cleaners were coming one day. And so it got neatly tucked under the counter, out of sight, out of mind, didn't use it for a whole week. And I was like, oh, this is such a good example of we all have to find that place to keep things that we use them because you have to
yeah.
use it to see the benefit of it. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? I think we should do one better for this. I think we should give you a link for a coupon for
ooh.
the stone.
Great. We'll take you up on that. I
Okay. All
appreciate
right.
we're already
All right.
stealing your
Yeah.
time and your energy, but thank you. That will be
Yeah, no
great.
worries. No worries. It's you know what? It's all about getting the tools in the hands of people who will take advantage and use those and remind themselves of that because it's all the reminders. So, absolutely.
Yes. No, thank you. Truly appreciate it. And I know we did this last time, but I'd really like to end every podcast like this. Just again, if people heard nothing else out of you today, if you could wrap your arms around them, what's your one takeaway that you just hope and pray, like, please hear this out of me?
Yeah. So, I think that the one major thing that I feel like is really important to know is that healing, self-care, self-advocating, it's a process. It's a process. So what's important is that you find some place to begin and your audience has already begun, or for new people, because you have a lot of new people, the key component is to begin and know that you're not going to do it perfect every time. You may not even do it, but it's about not beating ourselves up in the process. And on my personal experience, when I was 24 and I realized, oh my gosh, I need to do something for my health because like the Crohn's disease, the only thing I could eat was like sweet potatoes without feeling sick. But I had a lot of food addictions too. Like I craved salt, I craved dairy. And to go through this pathway of making sure that as I was able to eat, that I was making good choices. And it wasn't perfect. I would eat something that I knew would not make me feel good. And then I didn't feel good. And then I said, okay, well, next time maybe I can remember that before I eat it, right? And it's like that. So like I don't eat it for a week, then I don't eat it for a month. Then I just go, you know what? I don't want to feel that way. So I'm not going to eat it at all. That's the process in every angle of what we do with our health is that we're subject to the human condition, which is temptation and immediate gratification.
Mhm.
So this is really all about buying in to the process that when you do something good for your body, you're moving in the right direction. And it's about developing those habits, like you were saying, those habits and things that make it convenient for you, for it to fit into your lifestyle rather than feeling like you're having to take something away to add something in.
Oh, you just nailed it on that. Like we talk about that all the time.
Yep.
How much more fun is it to think about adding good things in for our body than I shouldn't, I can't, don't do it.
Right.
Love ourselves into change, people. This is the only
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah. And
Yes.
we're worth it. We're worth it. Like if we are worth spending that time with ourselves because we can give so much more if we just take that time for ourselves.
100%. We can't pour from an empty cup, right? Like it just doesn't work. So,
Exactly.
Kathy, you're wonderful. Thank you for this
Oh,
number two round together. It was such a fun way to start our morning. So, thank you.
yes. Thank you so much. I love your audience and what your message is. It's just so point on for we're like kindred spirits for that. So thank you so much for having me on.